Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Superfed TV Presents REBBL Action covering the REL. I am your host Superfed TV and we are going to be covering some matches today. This particular episode is going to take us to Division 3. But before we get started, as always, we will kick things off with the disclaimer. Warning, what you are about to hear is in fact opinion. It is not necessarily a representation of the league, coaches, or channel. You will hear things that may not make you feel good. This is called criticism. Sometimes criticism can even be subjective. Blood Bowl is a game of dice and strategy, and there will be comments on both dice and strategy. It does not necessarily mean that the subjects are good or bad people, but they probably are bad coaches. This is sarcasm. Either way, if you think it is offensive to be told you are wrong, tell someone else who cares. Enjoy. Alright, this episode we are going to be covering the match between Scooby in the Gang, coached by Travelscrabble, and Notforscience's Felwithe Koada'Dal, the High Elves. And as this division is aptly named, Dances with Elves and Wolves, this is going to be one of those common matchups that we see. Now in this case, the High Elves are, more or less a passing-heavy team. Should probably plus play there. And this Necro has one of the beautiful Piling On Mighty Blow werewolves. Does not have tackle yet, though. And he's a little bit off from getting there. But my guess is he's probably going to get there in just next few games. Way that they can stack up the SPP. Really, though, the Necro team only has one tackle, and it's on this Agi 4 guard white. So I think the High Elves may be able to hang in there attrition-wise. And Necro won the toss, so they have put the Elves on offense. It's got its pros and cons doing that. A lot of Elf teams will try and score fast when you do that. But with this much guard and what we're seeing in the setup, my guess is that he's going to slug this one out a little bit. Very short kick. And he actually chooses to go to the one that's not on the line, so he doesn't want to risk the touchback, and that's still a good spot. Doesn't get the blitz, actual reroll given to both teams on the kickoff result there. See the guard dodge placed here. Could have avoided that hit if he went up one, but I think because of the low movement of the catcher, that's why he positioned there. But a free shot on the werewolf, turn one, and rewarded with a knockout as well. That is very significant, and that's probably going to mean that the High Elves don't have to rush a score. I mean, they've got numbers already after turn one, and not just numbers, but that is a high-value target with the Blodge Werewolf out of play. This High Elf team does have a significant amount of guard as well as a plus strength lineman. So they're well suited to the bash match. A lot of pushes on these zombies, but they do finally find their POW. Or knockdown, rather. And picking up with this lineman, he's going to pass it back to the thrower and deep in their own side of the pitch. See if he uses reroll. Oh, he already used the reroll, actually. And so that is a turnover. But the ball is very safe in this part of the pitch. The werewolf would have to make all the GFIs just to mark the kicker. And that wouldn't accomplish much. Bringing the ghoul into the middle of the fray. It is Blodge Guard. Don't know if I like that. See how well he protects this ghoul. Bringing this one up helps some, for sure. And really the Necro is just going all mans on the elves, marking up just about every single elf that they can. Frenzy traps himself into a 1-die but makes the dodge to get out and is applying a little bit of pressure to the ball with him standing there. Mighty Blow Tackle, I should say, is on the other side of the pitch, so that wolf is pretty safe this turn. Let's see where the Mighty Blow goes. Oh, it is onto the ghoul. And he gets the knockdown. I've played around with ghouls, mostly on undead teams, and I gotta tell you, they are a very, very high priority target, and you want to try and protect them as best you can. Blodge Guard is great. It allows you to set up some control, but you need to be able to protect yourself. Dub Skull's there, automatically re-rolled. And Wrestle was the choice because it is Golem, so he wanted to free up this Blitzer, this sidestep shadowing Blodge Blitzer, and put it right on the werewolf. Sure Hands Thrower makes it away. It's a great thrower. Curious to see what he gets at level 70 or at level 6 here. And marks the werewolf again with the kicker. And so at the end of last turn, we saw that Necro had really just based up all these elves, and they held a strong line. They've got Strength 4 on one edge. They've got 3 guard right in the middle here. I guess 2 guard here, and this 3rd one here. So they've really bunched up nicely. There's still a couple standing things, so they're going to be taking some blocks back. But all in all, I would say that the Necro is probably the one that's getting the worst of this. Even though it was just a stun on the ghoul, they're not really going to be able to trade back, and I'd say the ball is very safe in this position. Golem can't get there. None of these guys can get there because they're all knocked down. So, yeah. Elves did a very good job there that turn of just protecting the ball, or securing the ball, I should say. It was on the ground. And getting a knockback. Pows the Blodger. No damage, though, unfortunately for the Necro team. And that does also free up this Goblin, so we'll see where he ends up going. Finds another POW onto the Blitzer. And this Goblin is going to mark up the Blodge Step Shadowing piece. I doubt he's going to go for that one. He's probably going to go for this kicker now that it's an easy 1-die. 2+, really. Blitzing with the unskilled Golem against the Strength 4. He did have a 2-die because of the guard. No result from that. And 1 in 9's the block with his zombie. Just a push. And yes, he does 1-die with the wolf. And there's the first Kaz of the game. Vertoculus goes down. Just a badly hurt. But there's some nice SBP for that werewolf. Here comes the blitz onto the Palmer. And another reroll. That's 3 rerolls down in 3 turns just to push on the result there. And this high elf catcher killer backs away. Thrower moves a little bit deeper in his pitch. I'm assuming because this werewolf is unmarked, he just wants to make sure that there's no shenanigans here. Oh, I see. Okay, so he's creating scoring threats, and he wanted to get away and out of the range of this white. That's what he was doing there. Agi 4 tackle could certainly take down this ball carrier if he gets the chance, even on a 1-die. And a 1-die push. Edging the kicker zombie closer to the ends or the sideline. Threatening the surf. Before this next turn goes, let's take a look at where things are at for the Necro and what we would want to see them do. So they have all of their players piled up in the middle of the pitch here. And really 3 elves are kind of locking down. Really, before that one moved, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players. And if you count these 2 over here, so it'd be 4. So it'd be 8 against 4. You definitely need to spread out at this point, and a couple of these guys can, but they can't really go very far either, since they were knocked prone. The werewolf, you want to try and get a blitz on, but is there a good target? If you are willing to do the 1 die, you could move this up here and get, blitz onto this blitzer with the werewolf. And there's a decent knockdown chance there. Agi 5 is also a solid target, but you're going to frenzy trap yourself because of all this guard here, so I don't know if there's a really great target. You might go for this one, but to me, blitzing the blodge step shadowing piece is a good way to get surfed. I probably wouldn't do that. I would probably try and reset, even though you want to get pressure on the ball carrier. I would try and reset somewhere in the center of the pitch with this werewolf, keep him protected, since it's very obvious that the high elf is targeting that. Brings the blodge ghoul right back into the middle of it, and I don't hate that either, since there is so much guard there. Match their guard with your guard. Finds a knockdown and a stun. And just a push onto this blodge guard piece. Notforscience has really spent a lot of time leveling up these linemen. I know from prior seasons' comments, he likes playing the AV8. That's why he doesn't have a lot of catchers. But it's still getting to be a very bloaty team. So the werewolf did blitz the sidestep shadowing piece, and he didn't actually go for the surf play. Well, actually, by him moving that zombie there, this is incredibly easy to surf next turn. I'm actually surprised that he moved that zombie there. Yeah, so the elves are moving backwards to set up this surf play, and I like that. Choosing, yep, there's the push. This is 100% going to be a surf here. He will invest that. Well, he might not invest the last reroll if he doesn't get it, but we'll see. Doesn't need to use a reroll. No damage to the wolf on that injury dice, but still, there's now absolutely no pressure on this ball. Plenty of scoring threats. Even though he has the wizard, I guess that is technically some kind of pressure that he's applying here, but strength 4, 2 die, I like that. Dodging out, and now all these guys, really, again, this was 5 pieces tied up by 2 pieces. So the elves are getting good value in their pitch control, and bringing this guard over to kind of screen this whole area off. Really, the kicker could be surf next turn if they're not careful. So we'll see where Necro goes at this point. I want to see definitely pressure on this ball. That did not do it. Just sending the block tackle Agi 4 piece down here would create a ton of pressure, because this is the most likely piece to succeed when it comes to applying pressure on that ball carrier and taking him out by himself. That's it for a 2-day block onto this piece, but it is blodge. And then pushing the golem further. The only reason I don't like that decision is it basically means that this guard is now working on all 3 pieces. When you're playing against guard, and really this Necro team is kind of outguarded. I guess they have this exact same number, but when you're playing against guard and you have your own, you want to maximize the number of players that your guard marks and minimize the amount of players that their guard marks. You want their guard to only hit 1 piece, and then, you know, if you have your guard position to hit 2 or 3 pieces, then that's doing very well. Now, he put pressure with this ghoul that has blodge guard rather than this white. And even though the ghoul has a little bit extra movement, it's isolated, alone, and a very easy target. If he can take down this ghoul and do some damage to it, that's going to be really painful for the next half. Whereas the white in the same position has Agi4, can dodge away easier, and can take down the ball carrier easier. So if he just switched those two places, I would have liked this play a lot more. But he did do the right thing, at least in getting some pressure on the ball. And because that guard's there, it gets that 2-die block. And the zombie goes down. And it is a blitz onto the ghoul, so he freed up his killer in order to get this blitz. Doesn't use his last reroll. Probably wise. And the elf is trying to trap this ghoul in here, but he's not careful. This is going to be depending on the positioning, and he is switching the positioning up here. He's not careful. It's going to be a lightning bolt onto the ball carrier, ghoul dodge, pickup, and touchdown. And if I'm the Necro coach, that's exactly what I'm doing next turn. Lightning bolt fails. That's just unlucky. Because yeah, if he had done that, that would be a 3+ dodge out. Pickup. I don't know about the squares. We'll count the squares. So 1, 2... we'll assume that worst case scenario is it scatters up here. So it'd be 1, 2, 3 with the pickup, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So he couldn't score unless the scatter was here, 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 or here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, that would do it. So as long as the scatter's any of these squares, and I'd say there's pretty decent odds of that happening, then that would have been a touchdown, potentially, for that Necro team. And they had the reroll, too, so yeah. Even though it's marked, I mean, we'd have to make sure the shadowing fails, and you make your dodge, but I'd say that was definitely a possibility play. And a good possibility, a good use of the wizard. It was just unlucky that it didn't work. Zombie finds 2-die block in an armor break onto the guard wrestle piece. Blodge step does a thing. Positions the thrower deeper here towards that pass. We are in the basically final 3 turns for the High Elves. Fails the GFI. Looks like he's going to mark. Double fails. Snakes it. And there will be no marking of this elf. I don't know if the mark would have really made much of a difference, honestly. He would have just dodged out. And of course he could have snaked the dodge himself, but... And another stun onto Shaggy. Shaggy's lucky to be alive. Taking stuns, but anytime I had a ghoul hit 3 times by Mighty Blow, it was dead. Very little pressure on the ball at this point, and we do see the POW. Assume he's going there. Yep, he does. If he stands that one up, he's getting surfed. Really, there's no way to get pressure at this point if you're the Necro. And it's okay to give up the drive at this point. You already invested a wizard in it. Your ghoul's getting repeatedly hit in the face. If I'm Necro, I'm probably admitting the seeding of the score. Ooh, that KO hurts. What I would try to do at this point is minimize hits and put pressure on these downfield scoring threats. Oftentimes Necro, because they have these zombies that are so disposable, they don't really play to minimize blocks. If you actually look at Blood Bowl 2 League Manager and look at the teams that give up the most blocks throughout the season, it's overwhelmingly Necro. Because A, the golems have stand firm, and so they just get punched over and over again. And B, because the zombies themselves are so efficient at getting, basing other players and just getting punched in the face to slow down the enemy team and create openings for their werewolves and whites. And that's just kind of Necro strategy. But at this point, when you're outpositioned, outnumbered, and just getting kind of beat up on by elves that are going to score most likely anyway, your best bet is to go into the second half with as many players on the pitch as possible. And that's just not happening here because he's standing these guys up for no real benefit. So that zombie again gets knocked out. Had no reason at all to stand up there. And this one gets injured. The kicker. And he's not going to make his regen roll either. So had he just left that kicker on the ground, it's unlikely that the elves would have even fouled it, especially being just a kicker zombie. And so really, I would say he's punished for standing his player up there and making that play. I would even call that a misplay. And that's 3 removals this turn for the elves. All of these were avoidable. All of these players that just got punched were on the ground and didn't need to stand up. The score was all but certain to happen. And they weren't in any position to threaten either. They were just pretty much stood up entirely to get punched. Now remember that you always have the option of leaving your players on the ground, and sometimes that is the best option. I think this is one of those opportunities right here for the Necro team to kind of take advantage of not having to stand those players back up. Because looking at that sideline right now, you've gotten a bunch of serfs and a bunch of injuries and knockouts. Or 1 injury and some knockouts. And that was all avoidable. 1 KO goes back the Necro way. As the guard dodge lineman gets knocked out. And again, a GFI rerolled, made the first one, but then failed again to mark the ball carrier, which isn't going to accomplish anything. I mean, this is a complete rookie golem. Even if he doesn't get the knockdown on the blitz on this piece, he can still 2+ with a reroll dodge out. Elves taking some greed blocks. They do have a reroll. And since they are winning this attrition game, it makes sense to go for him. And he's rewarded with a KO. Gonna make this one too? No, he doesn't. And elects to go for the pass instead of the handoff. It's pretty safe. The only difference is you're rolling extra dice, and if you do that all the time, you are eventually going to get caught and snake either the catch or the throw. Got the KOs, a decent number come back. There's still a Mighty Blow guard white on the sideline, which is kind of a big deal, and the dirty player's also on the sideline for this turn 8. Either 1 turn or just bash him into the ground kind of turn. So either way, you'd want both those to be on the pitch if you could, but we see the elves putting some guard and a rookie blitzer up on the line, deeming those to be the least valuable players that they have. And when I look at this back line, I tend to agree. The only thing that you could have done, though, is remember that Necro are pretty good at 1-turning, and you might have wanted the sidestep players to be up front, but I don't blame you for not really wanting to have them get hit by Mighty Blow piling on Claw. And we do see the Necro setting up for the 1-turn. With this Agi4 Ghoul, it's not unlikely. Both teams getting an extra reroll has 0 impact on this game. Here comes the Blitz. Gets the push for the first push. You see the Wolf come around and get popped out there. And we've got Frenzy in the perfect position to follow that up. I like that positioning. Brings the Ghoul around. I don't know how I feel about that one. That's going to pop this Ghoul down here. I guess that's probably fine. Gets a POW anyway. Oh, I see it. Okay. So that Golem did do something, actually, because now it sets up this push here. So that was the right play. I like it. Clearly, Travelscrabble's experienced with this 1-turn effort. Agi4 comes around, makes the pickup. Decent pass chance. Also a decent intercept chance, but fails the intercept. Snakes the catch. Oof, that was a rough half for Necro. Not only did they get beat up on by elves, but they also had a couple more snakes than the elves. And, well, that's going to hurt you. Still would have had to make some tough dodges to make that 1-turn happen. So the catch wasn't everything. If anything, it saved him from an armor roll after the failed dodge, but it's something. It's certainly not what you wanted to see. As we go into the second half, Necro will be receiving. Elves set up their screen, -1 with the casualty. Left guard on the line there. And I say it's a kick, but really, one of the things I actually really like about the High Elves is they don't actually kick the ball. They just throw it. They got good arm for it. And the High Elf thrower throws it deep. See the Golem get the 1-die push. 1-die first action. Oof, that is a little risky. The Werewolf does find a knockdown there. Shadowing. Alright. You see Shadowing now getting an interesting position. Where's the sidestepper going to go? He's going to go back this way. And the Frenzy doesn't get the knockdown. This is drawing the blitz. This is actually the best use for sidestep shadowing I've ever seen. This is perfect. So he's absorbed so far 3 blocks, and really he's actually a threat on the ball. He's a deeper threat than any of these other elves, and now this is a massive response from this team. Really, this is taking up 5 players so far? 6 players? No, okay, he's not going there. Well, he should. He should put someone right here, because if he's not careful, that's only a 3+. He's got tackle on it, so a 3+, 2+, and he could be marking this ball carrier with sidestep shadowing. It'd be nicer if it was diving tackle, but that shadowing getting him into that awkward position after that first block is what got him this far. Very interesting. Because of the guard, we see a 2-die push onto this werewolf. And that guard is, again, positioned very well. Three guard, making a nice guard wall, actually. So these werewolves are going to be really stuck in there. Blitz through to the zombie to clear path, it looks like. Can't be happy about that knockdown there, because now he doesn't have a path through. If it was not a both down, it would have gone differently. Dodge does a thing. Marks up this Agi 4. He's not going to dodge out because that goes there. So that was the 6th player that this guy pulled over. Make that. And so that stun does put a lot of pressure on this ball carrier. Now tackle is really not going to be involved in this next play. Now it's the Necro's turn. Before I let them play this out, I kind of want to see what I would do in their switch. And let me switch view too while I'm at it. So this side of the pitch is exclusively off limits. There's absolutely nothing you can do to protect your ball carrier over here. This side of the pitch is also pretty much stuck. You can't make an Agi 2 dodge. You do have this golem to play with. And because you've made this block your first action, which is a fine action, you've freed up this white. So you could do something to cage up over on this side if you wanted to. But then you're basically leaving your wolves to the wolves, as the expression is. So you don't want to do that. I think you do try to cage up somewhere around here. You can't rely on this corner unless you can get this block, and you're not going to be able to get this block because of the 3 guard right there. So you're going to make this dodge out, but that's probably going to be your last action, followed by this dodge. So yeah, I say you cage somewhere in here, and then you make some dodges. I like that. Almost exactly where I put that. Maybe 1 over. So he moves the white up in order to get a 2-die into a 1-die with all this guard piled up. I don't like that. I would have rather had this white securing the ball. Blitz with the golem does find the POW. But no armor break. And that's unfortunate. He needed an armor break there. Even if it was just a stun to equalize out what he just had the turn before. Werewolf dodge does work to get the cage corner here, and so because this golem was freed up, he is effective as a cage corner, and that's fine. I wouldn't have risked the 2-die, 1-die frenzy action because I would have had my white pulled back here for safety, so very similar spot to where I ended up, or where he ended up to where I would have ended up. His, I think, was just a little riskier because of that 1-die block after the frenzy. So the High Elves now get to put a lot of pressure on this ball, and I'm curious where they're going to go with it. Oh, we're going to see the Agi 5 leap play. Awesome. Awesome. So this will be a 1 die. And he gets the POW. That is so huge. So huge. Ball scatters, and it's in a recoverable spot. It's not easy because there is a werewolf here that's marking this ball, but he's going for it. 3+ pickup, he makes the pickup, makes the dodge back out. 1 more dodge to freedom, he makes it. And with 1 move to spare. So because he positioned this ghoul 1 square to the right of where I would have positioned it, you know, I'm not saying this is a huge difference, but I will kind of make my case for it. And why I would have positioned it 1 more over. Maybe even 2 more over, but 1 more over at least. And that was because these guys are all positioned here. High Elves don't have the greatest movement except for their catchers. This thrower only has a movement of 6. So if he was positioned 1 square over here, it would have meant basically that the positioning, or basically the dodge out, he wouldn't have been able to get here unless he's going to start rolling GFIs for it too. It probably wouldn't have changed much, but it's just that little bit of difference between, you know, 1 square left or 1 square right that really can have an impact on a game like this. And we see the elves make a couple dodges and a failed GFI, which he re-rolls, and the reason why he wants that is he wants to trap this ghoul in here. And I actually like that decision. Immediate dub skull. Man, that's got to be tilting the turn after you lose the ball and your opponent recovers after all that elf bullshit. Just a push. You're going to want the Agi 4 ghoul to do something here, but I don't know if you really want to risk the dodges yet. Yeah, push onto that thrower. That's going to allow this to be a 2+ dodge, and you need to really swing this around. Yep, he does just that. Got to make that GFI. Yeah. This Agi 4 piece here could have been used. No, it couldn't have. So that's fine standing him up. It looks like the blitz is going to have to come from Motley Jr. Sidesteps and then shadows to take his place in order to make that a red die. Gets off the guard. Oh, that is sick. He got away with the red die there, but I just want to point out sidestep shadowing is really hard countering these werewolves right now. Swings all the way around. Because he has already used his reroll this turn, he's not able to reroll that block. He does finally get a KO, so that's going to start getting the numbers. And we see the block go onto this ghoul, which does free up a route for the thrower. I think he would have preferred a POW over the knockdown, because he's going to have to go around him now. Gets a knockdown onto the werewolf. And push on the white. Another push on the white. That actually traps his Agi 5 piece. Killer comes around to set up a 2-die here. And doesn't take the 2-die, he actually makes the dodge here. I'm guessing he's going to just go for the score. Very hard to lock down these werewolves. He does go for the score. High Phoenix Takers. I'm going to go with Takers. High Phoenix Takers is a mercenary that was bought on the Rebel player market. He was a high elf from Hipster's team. So those of you that watched my coverage 2 seasons ago with Trunkhead would remember Hipster's high elves that I really, really liked. The way that he played them, especially on defense, and so that is a player from that team. Perfect defense for the High Elves. They really didn't need it, but that was a really good kickoff event for them. And we see the sidestep shadowing move over to the other side, away from the werewolves. And actually, I would keep it over there. It's doing such a good job of just screwing up these frenzy plays that they have been setting up. Once that piece gets diving tackle, it is going to be stupid. Like, it's already dumb. Sidestep shadowing is dumb. with Blodge and movement 7. But if it gets diving tackle and it can just dance around like inside a cage, marking a ball carrier, that's going to be really interesting. Just to push onto the catcher, so that does somewhat make it easier to pick up the ball. Pushes for days, which we kind of expected with the only one tackle on this Necro team, and there's a lot of dodge on these elves. Oh, and he did swing the shadowing step blitzer over here, and that's actually who gets blitzed. He finds the POW. I was gonna say I assume he piles on, but he doesn't even need to. Rana is dead. Apo used for an MNG. After I just started talking about the potential of this player, he immediately dies. Gets saved by the Apo at the last second. Agi4 comes in for the pickup. I like that choice. Makes the pickup, but he's going to have to dodge out. He does. He's not going for the cage. He's going for the big play. If that pass fails, this is a 3-0 win for the Elves. Luckily for him, he doesn't. He does have one reroll left and a handoff, so we're seeing all kinds of ball movement this turn. Can the Ghoul get to a safe place? Well, the answer is no, because this Agi5 wrestler can go anywhere this Ghoul can go. I mean, really, it's a 1-die if he sneaks around and makes the punch there, so, yeah. That is not safe. I'll say that much. High Elves, hurry back. And at the very least, they're going to say, if you don't score next turn, we're going to make it very painful for you. Here comes the blitz again from the Agi5 wrestler. Makes the leap. Now at this point it's a 1-die. He opts to go for the dodge, which is a 2+ dodge, and he snakes it. That sucks, but better than a skull, I guess. If he had just blocked from right there, it would have been a 1-die. If he makes the step over... No, it wouldn't... Well, would it? I don't know why he made that dodge. That was marked. It was a 1-die no matter what. Right? I think. Huh. Oh, he must have been making the dodge. Okay. He made the dodge so he could push it this way towards the elves, because there was 2 elves here. If he blocks from this direction, he pushes this way, so the scatter goes somewhere else. I don't know if the 2+ dodge, the extra dodge action there, is worth pushing this way. I think if you knock this ghoul over, wrestle or POW, no matter what, he's not scoring next turn. And I think that's worth it. I think that alone's enough. You're up 2-0. I don't see the benefit to doing that sidestep, but like, I could be wrong. Yeah, if the ball scatters this way and into your elf hands, then that's great, but to me, it's just not worth it for the 2+. So I think that's probably a misplay. The blitz going over to this side, trying to get down the strength 4 piece, seems bad. This player doesn't have Mighty Blow anyway. And I think he would rather be blitzing with something else, but I guess everybody else is marked. Makes the 1 GFI, and there's the touchdown. And it's a 2-1 game. This is far from over, folks. We still have the opportunity after Velma makes that touchdown. Where's the Velma at here at this point? 15-16? Very close to leveling up Velma, getting her Blodge. Dirty player. Still knocked out after multiple KO rolls. We get another opportunity to watch the Elves score. They've got 4 turns to do it in. Really, though, it's the Necro that's trying to come back into this. And so in my mind, I'm thinking defend against the Blitz first and foremost. You don't have to score again to win. You just have to make sure they don't score again to win. Or to draw, really. Not the best blitz defense. They seem to be overloading very heavily on the one side. So if you kick it short, and okay, well that's a little better. But if the kick is short and to this side, it's going to be a two-die knock them over and then to pick up the ball. Perfect defense. Well, that definitely will make things difficult for the High Elves to score again. And actually, I think that's okay for the Necro if they're still trying to play to tie. You can get a very aggressive forward position. The only thing that's not good for you is this really deep kick, and there's a chance that this goes out of bounds and kind of undoes what you do, so you have to be careful not to, you know, overcommit. You still have to have a safety back here for, you know, if say he hands off to this elf, knocks that one over, well, it's a 2+ to get up the pitch. And it is a touchback. Where's this elf go? He just gives it to the thrower. That's fine. This tackle, Agi4 White, is your most valuable piece, and he's in a central position. I just would prefer him to be the safety instead of, you know, either the School or Werewolf. Does get the knockdown on the zombie. And looks like he's going to screen over here. Or semi-cage, whatever you want to call it. That dodge fails. This ball is not safe, so that's a little risky. I guess dodge with no tackle against him, so that's fine. 2+ leap. Ooh, but he fails it. I don't like this play because it doesn't have an automatic reroll before you move. Oh, I see. He wanted to blitz the ghoul. That was greedy. I don't know that I really like the blitz of the ghoul here. It costs you a reroll. It costs you your last reroll to get that hit on the ghoul. I don't think it's worth it to me. But that's what he does. He does have a scoring threat at this point. And another injured elf. That's good for the golem. He needs the SPP. Just to badly hurt, though. What's that golem at now? 2 of 6. So that's the first SPP for that golem. Big deal for Fred Flintstone. Brings the guard around, but he doesn't put pressure on the ball. Opting instead to get 2-die block with this golem. I don't even know if it's 2-die. It would be a 2-die on the blodge, but not on the strength 4. She makes the 1-die on the strength 4. Rather than the 2-die on the blodge, and just gets a push. And this is supposed to be the threat. Instead of threatening the ball, he again bases. Man, I just don't like the way he's using Top Cat. I think if he positioned him like right here with somebody else with him, that would either force the elves to find the way up the pitch, which is not going to be easy for him with this cluster anyway, but force him to go through the golem, or, and that knockout's significant actually. So blitzing the scoring threat knocks it out. Now there's no scoring potential, and right away the elf moves right back down the middle of the pitch. Had the white been somewhere over here, he wouldn't have been really able to secure this ball. Does find the pal in that white, and that takes all this pressure off the ball. There's now 0 potential in my mind for this ball carrier to get hit next turn. And you've only got 2 turns to score as the Necro team. So next turn, your priority should be getting a scoring threat, and then making sure that no matter where this ball carrier goes, you have a chance to punch him. And we do see the Agi5 fail a dodge. At this point, there's still no elves in scoring threat, but they have 2 turns, so it really doesn't matter. There's not really an elf in scoring position yet. Frenzy blocks down the strength 4. Really hates the strength 4 piece. Just a KO. He piles on the KO. Well, that confirms what I was just saying. Travelscrabble hates strength 4 elves. You heard it here, folks. Hide them if you got them when you play Travelscrabble. There's a scoring threat. Perfect. This should have been your first action, if you ask me, but... well, I guess it was a dodge, so maybe not your first action. I guess that makes sense. You wanted to get this blitz down. Yeah, that's fine. Still, you should have had a scoring throw as soon as you could. And then Agi 4 comes around. Now, this is not pressuring the ball, and because you blitzed the Strength 4 piece and you piled it on, you didn't move up any further over here. There's nothing over here pressuring the ball. It's going to foul. No assist, no dirty player foul on the Strength 4 elf. What did that guy do to Travelscrabble in a past life? The Tribunal clearly has done some offense to this team. And with that, I guess he could push. So he could get a no, it should be red die. I guess if he marks him, because it doesn't have guard. And there's the scoring threat there for the High Elves. So if he marks this guy, he could get a 1-die block onto the ball carrier there, and then potentially scatter it, and then he'd have to have one of the other players here, maybe the Agi 4 one, come over, pick up the ball, and pass it to this white, who would then score. So that is the play if he wants to try and tie this game on turn 16. But before he does that, rightly so, he is marking up all of these 8 players. Really, this is the only one in scoring range. But he gets a lot of marks onto the Blodge guard. Alright, so yep, these are all the players he needs to potentially tie this game. Here comes the blitz. Doesn't make the first or the second roll for that cage dive. That was a tough roll. Was it a 6+ or 5+? 5+. So 5+ dodge, it could have happened. With an automatic reroll. Oof, I wonder if he surfs this wolf. No, he won't because of the position in there. He could have surfed that wolf. But he's more interested in trying to get a 3rd touchdown. 3+, 2+ dodge into a 1-die. Gets the push, which is all he needed. And here comes the long bomb attempt. I do love a good long bomb. Only a 3+, too. And he makes the catch in a tackle zone. But fails the dodge. Oh, no. No real impact on the game. Just would have been a level on that blitzer. But it's okay. 12 arm breaks apiece. Very even there. Almost even on the blocks, too. Very impressive. 52 to 57 blocks. The High Elves put on a real good blocking show, especially in the first half. They had those 3 removals that one turn, too, which was pretty savage. Equal number of removals. Only 5 KOs to 1 casualty for the Elves against 3 KOs and 3 injuries. When you consider like the actual injuries, you know, knockouts versus injuries, this team had the Claw Mighty Blow piling on. That makes sense. This one only has the 1 Mighty Blow piece, so more often than not, their injuries are going to result in KOs over casualties. That makes sense. 2 passes and 1 pass over there. Good SPP all around, in my opinion. It's a very good development game for both teams. But just a couple opportunities that we saw from both teams. I think the extra dodge was just unnecessary from the High Elves on that blitz with the Agi 5 piece. And I think they could have played a little bit safer once they had secured the win, but they were just trying to get that 3rd score, and I understand that feeling. I think they just play a riskier game than I would like. Same with the pass at the end, turn 8, and all those extra blocks. They play the risky game. Scooby and the gang, some opportunities, I think, for positioning. The big lesson and the big thing that we talked about, though, was making sure to stay down once you're down, and there's nothing you can do to stop the score. Don't give up any extra hits if you can, because that can come back to haunt you significantly. So, yeah, that will do it for this episode. I will probably cover another game or two for this week, since my co-host is, again, leaving me in the lurch. For week 3 coverage, I believe we're at. Week 3 or week 4. Hard to keep track. But I will either look for another co-host to help me, or I will be stuck waiting until Monday till Rumble is available. So, till then, I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.